admonish ill-informed students. She was here to learn. With each new revelation the lecturing surgeon offered, Libby scribed a detailed note, carefully lining up each sentence at the left margin, to be easily readable later. Finally, the surgeon draped a linen cloth over the table, and the hall erupted in applause. "This calls for a pint," the haughty student said, as though he'd done the dissection himself. "Invite the new lad," his friend said, with a glance at her as she closed her notebook and stood. The arrogant lip curled. "The riffraff can find their own pub." They moved off. "Dinna fret o' cheddar," a youth said cheerfully beside her. "He's a bushel o' mean stuffed and a bearer of privilege. Family's got money and he's clever as a fox. Doesna think he's got to be decent to anybody. Good on you to take him down a peg, lad." She could not pretend the youth was not speaking to her. Reaching up, she touched the brim of her cup. For weeks she had studied men's gestures, as well as their gaits and facial movements, then practiced them before a mirror. "I dinna know you," the youth said, "and I know everybody." He thrust out his hand. The mop of ginger curls over his pale, freckled face jiggled. "Archibald Armstrong. My mates call me Archie." She turned away. "Here now," he said, scanning Libby's fine coat and trousers. "You're no too smart to shake a fella's hand, are you?" There was no avoiding it. Libby grasped his hand and shook it hard. "Smart," she mumbled. "Joseph." "Fine grip you got there, Joe. I always say you know the measure o' a man by his handshake. Matriculate in the session?" In her dreams. She nodded. "Excellent," Archie declared. "Always happy to meet a bloke cleverer than me, less it's cheddar," he said with a wink and clapped Libby on the shoulder, sending her lurching forward. "The lads are off to the Dog's Bone for a pint. Got to wash away the stink," he said jauntily. "Join us." "Obliged," she said, and he moved off. Euphoria bubbled up in her. All three students had believed she was a man. The disguise did not, however, solve her greatest problem, finding a surgeon with whom to apprentice. For that she needed connections in Edinburgh's surgical community. Those connections would also pave the path to enrolling in courses on anatomy, surgery and chemistry to augment her apprenticeship. Miss Elizabeth Shaw, daughter of renowned forensic physician John Shaw, had those sorts of connections in spades. The newly created and entirely friendless Joseph Smart did not. But women were not allowed to apprentice as surgeons. Thus her disguise. Below, only 2 students were asking questions of the lecturing surgeon. Questions crowded her own head, yet boys like Archie Armstrong didn't even bother staying to learn more. As Elizabeth Shaw, she had never met this surgeon. She could chance asking her questions without being recognised. Tucking her notebook beneath her arm and starting toward the stair, she cut a swift glance across the thinning crowd. Her steps faltered. A man sat across the theatre, alone as the tiers emptied. It was not because he was the only person Libby recognised in the place that she abruptly could not move, for he was not. She had noticed several of her father's friends in the crowd, and she did not halt because this man was attractive, for he was, with a strong tapering jaw, black hair swept back from his brow, and deep-set eyes. His arms clad in a fine coat and crossed loosely over his chest were muscular, and the crisp white of his cravat shone brilliantly against his skin. Libby had never particularly cared about external beauty. Her interest was a body's health, and she had been stared at before. It was not due to his dark gaze trained upon her that she remained paralysed. Her feet would not move now, because in that gaze was thorough recognition. He knew her. They had met only once, 2.5 years ago, exceedingly briefly. Yet the gleam in his hooded eyes now told her that he knew her at this moment to be Elizabeth Shaw. With a regal nod he offered her a slow, confident smile of pure deviltry. Panic seized her. It required only a single person to unmask her. If she did not move swiftly now, this man with the keen eyes and dangerous smile would. Except for the whiskers, she was perfect. Watching her across the theatre,